Another technique that's been a little bit new to the bass fishing world, came over from Japan, that's kind of really caught the world by storm, is called the Spinbait technique. And when you look at it, it looks just like a topwater prop bait, very similar, a little bit smaller in size, but this bait actually sinks and it's gonna shimmy on the fall. So as this bait moves through the water column, it's actually going to shimmy as it falls down and continue to fall. And as it moves through the water, it's gonna do the same thing. So it's gonna swim horizontally through the water and it's gonna shimmy as it's swimming. And the thing that really makes this one unique is the 3-2 blade design. So it's got 3 in the front, 2 in the back. And what that's all about is water vortexes. When these fish are tracking the bait, they get up behind it and we can't feel it, we can't see it, but the fish are programmed to be able to feel those water vortexes coming off the bait. And the counter-rotating blades of the 3-2 design create 2 different water vortexes as it comes off, and it triggers those big fish to strike. You know, this bait, it's a very small finesse, it's a power finesse technique, but it puts off a large presence, right? It's a small bait that looks visually easy to eat, but from a feel standpoint to the fish, it feels like a big meal, right? And that's what triggers those big fish to bite. Easy to eat, easy for them to digest, but it gives off a big presence so they feel like they're getting the most bang for their buck. One thing that's important to keep in mind when you're deciding whether or not you want to throw a spin bait is the fact that it's a whole system, right? You need the right rod, line, and reel to really make it the most effective and get the most out of the bait. And most of the time, if I'm throwing a spinning rod, I'm throwing braid to fluoro, but this is one application that I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna throw a straight 6-pound, 100% fluorocarbon line. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is it allows that bait to stay in the strike zone a little bit better. We've got a bait that we're moving horizontally through the water column, and that fluorocarbon being able to sink versus braid wanting to float is gonna help us keep that bait in the strike zone a little bit better. And it's gonna be extremely smooth coming through. We're just barely reeling this. And so I don't want any tension. I wanna be able to feel that little tick when that fish sucks the bait in. So I'm gonna throw it on 6-pound, 100% fluorocarbon line. It's a pretty small and light bait. So I'm gonna throw it on a 6'10" to 7-foot medium light action rod. That's gonna allow me to be able to throw that bait a mile. I can get it out there away from the boat in those clear water situations. And it's gonna give me enough backbone where I can still fight the fish. And it's a treble hook bait. So I like one that's got kind of a parabolic bend to it, almost like if you were fishing a crankbait, where it's gonna help keep those fish intact. And then I'm gonna throw the same reel that I throw all the time. It's a size 30, and that's gonna help keep that line coming off smooth, and it's gonna help keep a good gear ratio of that bait coming back to the boat at a good speed. So the good thing with a spin bait is the fact of how versatile it is. I can fish it in a lot of different scenarios. You can fish it around big docks, you can fish around rock piles, grass lines, bluff walls. It's all about being able to count that bait down into the water column, into the strike zone where those fish are at. And it's gonna give that big presence that we talked about, right? It's a small package that puts out a big presence, and that for highly pressured fish, especially big fish that are smart, it presents an easy meal for them where they feel like they're getting the most bang for their buck. So it'll trigger a lot of those big strikes when a lot of other baits won't. So if you guys are looking to try a new technique, something that's gonna be fairly easy to fish and catch a lot of big fish in a lot of numbers, you guys should probably check out the new spin bait technique. Get the right rod, reel, line set up, go out there and try it on your home lake.